Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Porto. Welcome to the City of Makers. My name is Joana Lacerda, and I will be your host for this roundtable. Today, we are here to discuss from a very deep and philosophical perspective the challenges and opportunities that artificial intelligence is bringing to social impact and ethics. And for that, I have the honor to have with me three super special persons from very diverse fields to discuss and that are applying and researching AI towards their works. Starting with the ladies, Joanna here is an award-winning fashion tech and costume designer. Her area of expertise are wearables and the merge of fashion and technology. Joanna graduated from the London College of Fashion with an MA degree in strategic fashion management and a bachelor in fashion design technology. Her clients include Sony Music, Universal Music, and BBC, and Joanna worked with artists such as Drake, Rita Ora, and Skanka Nancy. Joanna has also been a guest speaker at various tech and fashion conferences and winner at the International Women in Tech Awards in the category of Fashion Tech and the winner of the Innovation World Cup 2018. Moving to Fernanda. Fernanda Torre is a visiting teacher at the Stockholm School of Economics, where she lectures in innovation and entrepreneurship in the MBA program. She is also the CEO and founding partner of Next Agents, a consulting boutique focusing on innovation management. Research-wise, Fernanda is part of the VNova project for boards.ai, aiming to support corporate boards governing AI towards innovation and sustainability. She is also a founding member of the Speculative Futures in Stockholm, and teaches future thinking and design thinking at the Stockholm School of Entrepreneurship. And Francisco Marques Teixeira, which is a neuroscientist and neurotechnologist applying technologies to health and self-knowledge to understand how new technologies may change our brain and our minds will adapt themselves to this new kind of digital existence. He is the clinical director of the neurofeedback department of the Neuroscience Institute Neurobios and co-founder of Mu Arts, a company specializing in concept design and prototyping of creative technology and innovation in neurotechnology. For the last years, Francisco has been working with techie developers, geeky artists, researchers, and hackers to link the brain to the Internet of Things in order to enter in a transhumanist age and promote brain-computer interactions as well as brain-to-brain communication. In 2019, Francisco founded the Translate, Transmedia and Transformational Technology Festival, which first edition happened in Lisbon last year. Briefly introducing myself, I have been dedicating my last years in the social impact topics, which led me to be nominated as one of the 30 under 30 Forbes in the law and policy category. And currently, I am also advising the European Commission towards the implementation of the AI strategy and working with the Fundamento and the Powerhouse in the future of fashion. Moving from the intro to our topic today. So, artificial intelligence is more and more in our reality and is everywhere, from our smartphones to self-driving cars. This topic has been discussed from designers to politicians, and from that, lots of questions have been arising to where it's going to take us in the future and how our lives are and will be impacted by this tool. Is AI a friend or an enemy? To start, I would like to ask a common question to all of you. So, how is and will AI change fashion, Joana, our brains, Francisco, and governments, Fernanda? So, Joana, you want to start?
Hi everyone. So AI is already changing fashion. I mean, the only way to create something new in fashion without referencing the past is to implement technology or to collaborate with different industry. There are several points I would like to touch. AI is influencing fashion in terms of operational, creative, and functional, especially now during the coronavirus and lack of testing. The information from the body is more relevant than ever. So body is such a great interface to start with, and that is not really widely used yet. That's the first point I would like to add. On the other hand, I don't think AI will ever replace the craft, human hand, and human brain in terms of creativity. So I think the only way to move forward is very healthy, sustainable collaboration between human and an AI.
Thank you, Joana. So, Francisco, do you want to explore how and if AI is changing our brains, or if it will?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I believe AI is changing the way we think and the way the brain works. In my specific field, we work with diagnosis and treatment of neuropsychiatric diseases. And AI is helping a lot on the diagnosis because we can see things that normally it's impossible for us to see with AI treating data, because we are able to see new patterns that a common psychologist or psychiatrist without the help of AI cannot see work. So in my opinion, AI is very helpful and is changing mainly the way we face the problems, and in my case, the brain problems and the diseases. Yeah, and as Joanna said, and as you said in the beginning, AI, I believe that is our friend, and we can evolve a lot with that tool.
Thank you, Francisco. Fernanda, would you like to give us your point of view from the governance and also like the social impact of it?
Hello, Joanna. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I think that the question is AI friend or foe is a quite good starting point. And to be honest, I think it depends who you ask. If you ask the guy that was arrested, I think it was now in June, it was the first time that the person got arrested. This happened in the US due to AI mistake. So it turned out that, the facial recognition software just identified the wrong person. And when the police went there to arrest this person, I think Williams was his name. Okay, it's not you. Oops. So if you ask him, probably he's not super happy about the experience. But of course, as Francisco brought up, and very well, you can really use AI for a lot of good and very impactful activities. From diagnostics, like Francisco was pointing out, to impact in real impact in people's lives, like forecasting floods, detecting diseases in plants, in animals, predicting wildfires. For us that live in Portugal, or for everyone out there in California, etc., and a lot of places that have been hit by wildfires, I mean, it would be great to have a bit of warning. So, I mean, it's really like any technology is agnostic. So it really depends what you do with it. And I think that's why it's so interesting to see what's the role of leadership in this context. Because to a great extent, what AI does really depends on what leaders want to do with it. So, you go to the people that have the decision power and you ask them, okay, now that we can do anything, what will we do? And I think that's pretty much the moment in history that we're in. There's so much potential for good and bad that it's actually interesting to think about, I think, different perspectives. On one hand, you have to think about education for AI. How much do we actually need to speak this language? And I think we're in a real balance here. A couple of years back, when I was in Web Summit, there was the presentation from Christopher Wiley, that was the whistleblower from Cambridge Analytica, and he was saying, I talked to a lot of famous people and a lot of politicians, and he was telling the experience that he was talking with a congressman that told him, oh, I'm too old to understand this technology. My assistant does, all the Facebook and Twitter and stuff. So, sorry if I can't really discuss this. And apparently his answer was something like, okay, imagine if I would tell you, a congressman, that you are doing your job and you don't know anything about the civil rights movement, or you don't know anything about sustainability. So it's a super important topic, and the education about our leaders in order to understand enough to at least be able to have an informed discussion about this. So this is a bit on one side of the spectrum. On another side of the spectrum, Catherine Mironok, she's from Singularity University, a good friend of mine, and she always uses this example that for leaders to govern AI, they don't need to know AI, as in you can drive a car, you can know what kind of maintenance you should do to a car, and you don't need to be a mechanical engineer, right? You don't need to know the nitty-gritty of the technology in order to be able to know that you have to follow certain rules with this technology that is a car. So I think that somewhere in between that spectrum, the kind of education and how we're building our leadership to deal with AI is very important. Again, having in mind the huge impact that we can have with AI for good and bad.
Thank you, Fernanda. Joanna, you want?
I would like to add something to what you said. During my residency at Electrocouture, run by Lisa Lang in Berlin, I was part of the group Fashion Tech exhibition, and there was, for example, people growing sustainable leather out of different fruits. And what happened was, when they tried to register, there was no laws that would protect them or forbid them of doing certain things. So sometimes the technology, sometimes I think we are experiencing it all the time, and it's go faster. The technology is developing so quickly that the law doesn't really follow fast enough because of bureaucracy to even implement the laws we should follow. So especially when it comes to data, the body data. I work with Francesco on a project called Vision Quest. The team was enlightenment engineering and consciousness hacking. So we added brain sensor in a cup that was measuring brain activity, and the whole goal of the project was to get data and propose, first of all, diagnose what are the abnormalities of the brain, and then propose treatment. Now, who has the data? It's your data, but where is it stored? What's the law protecting this data? Do you have a right to sell this data if you want? Can you even have a right to say, yes, I want to make this data available, or do you have ownership? So I think this is a very important moment to discuss, since AI is taking over so many parts of different industries. And again, with coronavirus, I think e-health and well-being will be the next top trend in terms of wearables. But again, in order to even go mass market with any kind of proposal, we need laws protecting data of these people who would participate. So that's something I wanted to add from my perspective.
Can I add? I want to talk about 3 points. To start, I want to talk about what Fernanda said about the lawmakers. They don't need to know about AI to know what we can do or not with this tool. Um, I slightly disagree because I believe that the more you know about a technology, you can go deeper. And I have an example that is the programmer bias. Sometimes it happens that AI is created by humans, and that those humans are programmers. And for instance, when you are defining a threshold of a decision making in a diagnosis, you have to define that threshold. And us humans, we define it with more 5% or less 5% of accuracy, and that can accumulate a bias. So we have to be very careful with that, because in the end, in the final decision making, that is the AI that is going to do. It was the first programmer that made a small bias that can induce diagnosis problems, law problems, and so on. The other point I think that is very important that Joanna said is the ownership of the data. Of course, we can talk about AI and with AI, but regarding mainly our work that we use biometric data, that in my opinion is very sensitive data because we are dealing with thoughts of the people, we have to be very, very careful. Um, and the third one is about AI and creativity, because I can give an example. On this Translate, I invited an artist called Rania, and she was creating a piece, a song with an AI. So she was singing, and then an AI bot was singing with her. And then comes ownership, like creativity, ownership questions about, is that piece all created by Rania, or is created by Rania and the programmer that created the AI, or may the AI have a legal identity so they can share the creative ownership of the art piece that was created. So that for me is a very interesting question, because I believe that in the future AI will start having a certain degree of individual legal status that will allow us to, or them, the AI, to be accountable for their decisions, or to be the owner of a piece that was created. So I think these 3 points are very important to acknowledge if you want to start debating about AI.
Yeah,
I
let me
wanted
just.
to,
Sorry.
sorry, I just wanted to add one point. This is relevant to what you said, Fernanda, as well. I'm sure you all remember Mark Zuckerberg in his American Senate when they were questioning him and they didn't know what they're talking about. It was, I mean, not everyone, but many people questioning him didn't know how Facebook works and how data ownership works. I think it's very important to have that understanding before you're able to make a law, and also creating these laws, you can really limit the potential of AI, trying to protect people from it. As example, me and Francesco did the Neurotech Cup. I had a talk and presentation in the Ministry of Technology in Warsaw about it. And after the talk, I had a lady from Ministry of Defense inviting me for the meeting. And first question was, can you activate a bomb with brain activity? So there is, they can be, I think it depends in which hands it is, because on the other hand, what Francesco does with it is helping people heal from illnesses that traditional medicine is not able to heal. On the other hand, it can be used by Ministry of Defense. So I think it's really important for lawmakers to understand the full spectrum of potential before decisions are made.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all agree with that. I think what's interesting is to also think about how do we understand. If trying to make what I'm thinking more clearly, to what level of depthness does one need to go in order to have an understanding over the technology? I mean, of course, that the more you know that you don't know. The more knowledge you have, the more you understand what you don't understand. But let me bring up a very concrete example from research. So Stephanie Werner, she's a researcher from MIT, a good friend also, and she has also been collaborating with us in our research for Boards AI. And what her research found out is that for a corporate board to really have an impact when it comes to digitalization and AI, to really have an impact in the performance of the firm, you need to have at least 3 tech-savvy board members. So basically what the research shows is that you need to have 3 persons that can discuss technology to, a fair level, that they identified in this research as tech savvy, in order to be able to really drive change to the point of creating impact. I think that this is actually quite interesting, and that they come up with 3 as the magic number. I think that this is interesting from critical mass perspective. So it means that it's very difficult to drive change if you're just one person. And then in that case, you can be, data scientist, you can be Francisco, you can be, real expert in this. But if you're alone, maybe it's just too hard to drive change. So you do need a certain context, and it doesn't need to be that all these people are super experts when it comes to AI, but enough in order to be able to drive change. Now, this brings another topic that I think is actually quite interesting. And I wrote here a little post-it that says "Power to the geeks." And what I mean by this is that I am personally worried about power being separated from the traditional power institutions, because those we have somewhat a governance system around them that has been, for the good and the bad, right or wrong, but there's some kind of scrutiny. You can criticize the current political systems, but there are some ways of keeping check on them. I think it's actually really interesting, the point that Francisco brought up about the biases. And you can even say, okay, one thing is a bias, something that you're not even conscious that you're doing, but you, as a coder, you can have the power of even consciently make a program, design something that is going to have a huge impact, and you will never be scrutinized over it. So this dislodging of power and impact from traditional leadership and traditional accountability systems, I find that quite troubling.
Yeah. The question is, how are people going to check that? How are these programmers be accountable for their mistakes or their changes or biases that maybe the governance is making them doing that, as it happened with Cambridge Analytics. That's the thing, and for that, and for people that understand about coding, you have levels and different languages, and you can add these biases in each level, low level, high level. So it's kind of, we should have a kind of a police in each level controlling these biases that can be added on each level. So it's going to be a very big challenge, because there's 2 different worlds talking: the coding world, and then the controlling accountability world to control these programmers. And what people might do, or they are already doing, they are putting AI controlling the AI coders. So this is a very complicated way of solving these topics.
Let me just jump in. I'm talking way too much, but so stop me, Joanna. I think that just brainstorming here. I think that there is something in empowering the programmers themselves, in creating a code of conduct, in creating the kind of code that different professions have that will kind of at least be a reference, something that people can refer to and have a relation towards, something that can even be an inspiration. Let me give you an example. A couple of years back, when I was working in the Stockholm Resilience Center together with Victor Galas and a super cool of very interdisciplinary team of super cool people that we gathered at the time, and Frederick Morberry, also from the Stockholm Resilience Center, we published the Biosphere Code. So we had a long process of development, and then a workshop that culminated, and you guys just Google it. And it was basically a manifesto, several points, some kind of a general guideline for all the everyone out there that is working with algorithmic development. If I want to have an impact when it comes to the biosphere, to sustainability towards the biosphere, what can I do through my work? So I think just a couple of examples, but definitely a lot more work needs to be put into this.
I was it's just a point. I was thinking about probably the solution will be blockchain, because with smart contracts, and when the different nodes, and I'm getting a little bit technical, when the different nodes and all the community validates the transaction or the code that is being created, is when we can go for the next step. So I really believe that blockchain could be one of the solutions for AI control, not control, accountability. Yeah, to AI accountability.
Yeah. So going a little bit back in the topic, and this question is for Joanna, but for all of you, of course. Since today, like, AI is owning patents and these kind of IP things. What's the role of AI, and how AI is creating new opportunities in the creative process of a designer? And not only for you, Joanna, but also for Fernanda, for the design thinking process also. Like, what's the role, and what are the opportunities, and of course the challenges that arise from this?
I mean, including AI in a creative process is like getting totally new language and medium you can play with. Not only creatively, but also, as I mentioned, in terms of operations and function. There is brands that appear at the moment that offer, for example, contactless fashion. It's purely digital. One of the examples is Tribute. It's purely digital fashion clothes. They never exist in real world. You buy them and you apply them to your photo or video. There is big aspect of sustainability when it comes to that, because you don't use water, you don't use material, you don't use electricity, and so on. It doesn't really have any other function than identity or creating beautiful image. However, I believe this is where the future is going. Looking at the climate change and all the waste, just in UK, there is 3.6 billion unworn clothes bought every year. The number is huge. So I think we are becoming more conscious of how we're buying and where the clothes are coming from. The race of sustainable smart materials is on the horizon. At the moment, one of the actually is a Portuguese brand, Pangaia, They're offering hoodies that cost around £100. Hoodie in UK you can buy for 30-25 pounds. They sold out. The only difference is that they're using natural fibers and fully organic cotton sourced sustainably. So again, I think that will be the new trend. In terms of blockchain, blockchain could help to follow the commitment of the companies to sustainable production, or help to reduce the fakes that are being sold, imitations and so on. So there is really broad, that's really broad topic that is very hard to cover in short time because possibilities are endless. Another example in terms of the function, H&M Germany Lab just launched wearable love jacket that the aim is to help couples or loved ones during self-distancing. The jacket has touch sensors. So when the one person on the other side of the world has an app, for example, and is touching the certain points on the app, the person wearing the jacket can sense it. Another layer, AR, Rihanna's brand Fenty. One of the things that you really need to try before you buy is sunglasses. So Fenty is offering AR fitting room for sunglasses, for example. This is also a way to be sustainable, but it will reduce the shipment, the cost, the returns, the whole human resources involved, and so on. But as I said, I'm sure AI will never replace the human craft. Someone who was teaching for 40 years and can do it perfectly, or someone who is cutting very unusual shapes of garments. So I think in my prediction, we will replace some very repetitive human functions with AI just to speed up the process, make it more sustainable. However, as humanity, I believe in the next coming years, we will go into more organic way of how things that we were produced and so on. Plus body as an interface is such a great opportunity to get all the data, but then we need laws in place. There's so many things that are on the horizon to implement before we can really go mass market with it. The e-health, the whole information from the body, fabrics that can protect us from viruses or from UV, the possibilities are endless. So I think in next 20 years, we will see real boom. When I was starting in the fashion tech field, there was maybe 15 people around the world doing it. Now I can see mass market brands and high-end brands like Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Nike Lab implementing AI solutions that for me, maybe they're old because I was playing with it 5 years ago, but means market is ready for it.
Fernanda, do you want to add a bit here about creativity and AI? So what are the challenges and opportunities that AI is bringing to the creative thinking?
Oh my God, I have so much to say. And I love the examples that you brought up, Joanna. I think really, really interesting from many different fields. This is what I do for a living, right? Work with innovation. So I again, stop me if I speak too much. But so here's the thing. You really have the world kind of, I would say, and now I'm being a bit exaggerated, but kind of divided into the tech optimists and the tech pessimists. And it does feel like, I work a lot within the entrepreneurial world, and it does feel that there's a lot of excitement around AI. and the potential around AI and all the innovations and so much that you can do. But then there's another part of me coming from the design side, and I come from a very traditional kind of design background, from graphic design in Porto, very traditional school, experience design in Konstfack, here in Stockholm, that is kind of a traditional school when it comes to arts and crafts. And I would say that from the design side, there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to technology, exactly because of some of the points that Joanna brought up, until what extent can this replace or not humans, but also the quality, the aesthetical quality of the innovations that you're bringing, until what extent can AI have this kind of aesthetical quality. The thing is that it does feel like two worlds that are a bit clashing in a way, because what I see coming from this very optimistic side of the world, from entrepreneurs and startups and trying to drive change, is really around pushing forward technology in a way that many times is technology for the technology's sake, is doing something just because it's cool. It's just because you can do it. Okay, why shouldn't you? And then this other kind of more careful side, maybe that is actually many times the side that is very focused on methodologies like design thinking that are very human centric. So then it's not the technology for the technology's sake, but rather really focusing on the problems, on the real needs of the users. Sometimes users don't even need to be human. What are the problems from the biosphere, kind of the problems from the animals, kind of what kind of challenges we have nowadays, especially when it comes to all the challenges that are really the first time that we're encountering them as human species, as climate change, for example. And then how can we solve this? And okay, maybe technology is part of the solution, but how can we do this in a human-centric way? And I think that kind of bridging these two worlds is such a challenge. I myself, I have to say that I'm very inclined towards rather try to focus more and more on the problem and on the user and what we're trying to design for or innovate for. Because what I see time and time again, coaching startups, meeting entrepreneurs out there, is that you have fabulous ideas that no one cares about. And I'm just intrigued by the amazing power if you could actually get all these people aligned towards doing something that would drive impact. Then it's not just about doing an app, another travel app for the app's sake, but if you really try to put these people into the mode of generating value, which again leads me to another challenge, which is well, it's a real race for talent. It's really hard to get good programmers. They sell out like hot cookies. It's really difficult to get talent, and it's difficult even for universities. It's difficult for anyone in the public sphere to attract talent. So it feels like there's so much potential, but we're not so much coordinated yet on how to harvest it in a good way. And I find just quite sad that we have a whole generation of super smart people that have their goal in life to increase the number of clicks on a certain website. And to have that as your goal in life, yeah, it pays well. But I don't want to answer. I'm just putting it out there.
I would like to, I really resonate with what you said, and I think, this is why I started to work with scientists, Francesco, for example. I think the motives behind using AI should come from awareness and consciousness, and as banal as it might sound, doing something for greater good rather than for another app and purely income and creating waste. And I think what would be great is to have laws, agencies, hubs, organizations that I think we need more of those. I was participating in one of those where I was able to, with my ideas, meet like-minded people that could provide me with the science. I'm coming from fashion background, and I had fashion tech ideas. I never aspired to be engineer or programmer myself. I believe collaboration is only strong if you have people who all know what they're doing, not experimenting. And I think it will be great to create hubs that can address the problems as the main problems we are experiencing as humanity, and they are quite triggering and kind of act now sort of problems like climate change, where there can be funds from European Union or whatever other funds available to create the solutions that are actually needed. Not, as you said, just another app for the sake of another click. So that's something I wanted to add.
Can I add one thing about this topic?
Sure, thank you.
The area that we are working in, me and Joanna, that we call consciousness hacking or transformational technology, is a new field that is arising that is all about using technology, hacking, programming to develop tools that will allow you to transform yourself, for you to grow as a human being. It's not creating an app just because it will give you money, because traveling is a thing that will give you money, but is creating an app that you can use on your phone, and with sensors you can know more about your brain, you can know more about how you are meditating, and it can lead you with the biometric data and with the AI to levels of awareness that otherwise you cannot reach without the help of this technology. I always say to my patients when they ask me what is neurofeedback, why do I should use neurofeedback to meditate if I can meditate without using technology? The thing is that with AI and biometric data, you can reach quicker states that you cannot reach otherwise. And some people, they don't have the inner tools to understand the differences or the different cues that your body is giving to you. So you need technology and AI to help you reaching that different levels. This is one thing. The other thing is again an ethic thing that we have to think about. That is the democratization of the technology. As Fernanda said, we are reaching a gap between people that love technology, people that hate technology. But there's another gap, that is people that they can have technology because they have money, and people that they cannot have technology because they don't have money. And if you are talking about transhumanism and cyberpunk movement or cyborgs, we will have a branch of people that because they have money, or they have ways of upgrading themselves as transhumans, they will be able to reach things and levels, even brain levels or cognitive levels, that people that they don't have money, they cannot. So I think it's the governments and the lawmakers, they have to make sure that somehow this technology is democratized and can reach everyone, or else we will have a gap even bigger between the transhuman people, that they have gadgets and they are cyborgs, that they can upgrade and enhance their brain abilities, and the people that they stay on the same level, and that could be very problematic in the future. Yeah, so that was the 2 points I wanted to state as important.
So as you were all touching this point, and that like since machines are reproducing human intelligence and forcing us to do things and taking decisions from us, I would like to ask you, Francisco, but of course to Joanna and Fernanda, of course, your point of view on what's the future of the human brain. So if our brains are going to mutate with this technology, if we are somehow mutating the future of the human existence, and also what's the role and the future of our souls. if we really will need our brains in the future, what's the role of our souls?
That's a very tricky question. So first question, the future of the brain. I really believe, but that's my opinion. That's what I believe in. That's what I work in. I really believe that we are going to reach a transhumanistic era, and that everyone will somehow. We already are. Everyone has a phone. A phone is a gadget that is enhancing our abilities. So if you're using a phone, we are a transhuman because we can have everything on the phone. I went to it's very interesting. I went to a conference about neuro enhancement ethics, and there was a philosopher talking about. He was reading a script from the ancient Greece where they were criticizing the pen, saying that it was a very dangerous technology because our memories would fade forever because now we could put our thoughts in a paper. And they were talking and they were having debates about should we kill the pen or not kill the pen because it's a dangerous technology for the future. So these problems come from the ancient times. In the beginning was the pen, now is AI. So I think we will always evolve and we always have tools or outside of our bodies or inside of our bodies that will allow us to grow. So I really believe that the future of the brain is cybernetic, is somehow connected to the internet. And for that, and Elon Musk is doing that with Neuralink, and with that, we need some type of hardware or technology as a sensor to connect our inner net to the outer net. So that's how I see the future of the brain. The other question was, can you remember me? Second one.
If we are mutating our brains, so if these technologies applying to our brains are somehow mutating the human existence.
And by mutating, you say like replacing the brain, or
yes, replacing, or at least like adding new functions or killing functions that we already use and have. In the future, we will not need it because there are machines thinking from us.
Yeah. So in the beginning, we will always need a brain at least to create a machine. So that's the first point. Secondly, we have to divide the brain by its different functions. So we have cognitive functions, we have emotional functions, and then we have the sense of self, and then we have morality and ethics. I know that nowadays AI are able to do almost every cognitive task that the brain can do, even better. Maths, decision making, memory, that's already done very well by AI. Emotional categorization or emotional decision making, and my team, we work a lot on that. We have an algorithm that is called emotional engagement, that we can track the physiology of emotion and understand if someone is liking or not liking a stimulus. And for instance, if you go to buy something in a store, you can have a sensor that says to you if you like or not physiologically that product. And then other questions arise, because one thing is your physiology of the engagement that you have with the product. Other thing is the concepts that you have on top of that physiologic reaction. For instance, we always say the Coca-Cola and Pepsi challenge. Pepsi has a lot of sugar, so physiologically your brain will like more Pepsi. But if you go to a focus group, most of the people say consciously that they like more Coca-Cola because they are fed with Coca-Cola commercials and so on. So even here we have a decalage between your physiological emotional response and then your conscious subjective response to a certain emotion. And then you have the moral brain and the sense of self. But I believe that AI is not yet there. So, and we talk about the singularity, that is when the AI will become self-aware. And for that, and then with this topic, we can get to the soul. So because when the soul, because it's very tricky to talk about this in the scientific community, but before the soul you have self-awareness, and I don't believe that AI will become self-aware. That's in my opinion, because you need a lot of inner processes, inner consciousness, and there's an author that says that an AI will never become self-aware because it doesn't have a body. And people say, "I don't need a body because we have a computer and AI works without a body." But more than 50% of our awareness of the world comes from the body, somatic feelings, and we live from that, and people tend to forget that, but it's very important. And an AI for now doesn't have a body. Of course you have Sophia, and they try to create a body, but it's just that body doesn't have senses. It's not feeling and feeding the AI and the consciousness of that robot with sensory information. Um, so that's about self-awareness. And then there's the morality. What is morality? What is ethics? Of course, Antonio Damasio, with the case of Phineas Gage, that proved that there's an area of the brain where morality resides, and he had an accident. He had like an accident in the head, and he damaged that area, and Phineas Gage stopped being moral. But we don't understand nothing yet about morality to create an AI that can be right or wrong. And then becomes the bias. Who defines what is right or wrong? Is the programmer? Is a politician? Is a country? So it's very complicated to achieve these last steps of consciousness, that is morality and self-awareness. That's why I don't believe that AI will replace the brain. We will always need our brains to somehow control or regulate the AI.
I would like to add something. You
Yes,
mentioned.
we have. Sorry, Joanna. We have 2 minutes left.
Okay, very quickly. You mentioned Neuralink by Elon Musk, which requires, yes, it can connect you to an eye and give, for example, paralyzed people motor functions again, but it requires installing chip in the brain. I believe any chip can be hacked, so this is where wearables come handy. To have that last barrier, decision making, if you want to use it and have it or not.
Thank you. Okay, so we are reaching the end of this conversation. It was a pleasure and an honor for me to talk about such an important topic with such like-minded people. Thank you so much for being with us. For all of you who have been watching us, thank you so much. I hope you are enjoying this year's Ars Electronica Festival. Feel free and more than welcome to visit our Porto Garden, and feel free to reach out each one of us if you want to proceed with this conversation. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Fernanda, for being
Thank
with us.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.